probably in 2008 after a slip disc in 2006, and it was part of my rehab. I started swimming and then was able to walk, then did Pilates, then found yoga, and pretty much that was it. Like, yoga and walking was what I wanted to do from then on.
I started practicing yoga in 2003. I came to yoga the way a lot of women do. I went to a prenatal yoga class at the local YMCA, and it was wonderful. I got to get away from my mommy duties, and it was peaceful throughout my pregnancies. And then I just want to give a disclaimer, because I feel like my story is important to share. However, it's kind of dark, so there may be some triggers. But we fast forwarded to 2013, and I was in a pretty dark place. I consider myself to be lost. I was severely depressed. And even though I'd always lived in a larger body confidently, I had become a bit immobile, and I'd started to gain a lot of weight. And my mind was constantly going to negative thoughts. And I call this stage my zombie stage. It's where you show up with a smile and you go through the motions, kind of unaware of life, and your mind just has this track on of just negativity. And you go home exhausted. And so I was in a really unsafe place, and I had absolutely no escape plan. I was fed up with doctors and medication, and my good friend Joy Page became a yoga teacher, and I decided that I would try yoga again. One, because I really felt comfortable with Joy. I'd known her a long time, and she was always supportive. So I said, I'm going to go. And I showed up, and it was an open level class, and there's a bunch of athletic yogis there, and I just was determined to do something to change my life. So I went straight to the front, and I sat directly in front of Joy, and I thought, well, if everybody's to my back, I can't see them, and I'll just pretend that it's just me and Joy here in class. I had no idea what I was doing. It was really intimidating and confusing, but then there was Shavasana, and we rested, and the sweat dried, and I felt at peace for a moment. And I realized that the soundtrack in my head had turned off, and I kind of had this hope. I actually felt vibrant and awake for a moment. And I decided that I was just going to keep going back. I was going to keep going back. And obviously, when you are immobile and you start doing activity, you do have physical changes in your body. I did lose a lot of weight in the beginning. But the most important part is I was able to reclaim my life. I was able to find this glimpse of freedom, mental freedom, that allowed me to move forward and come into a safe place in my life. And I just knew that I had to continue. I had to keep coming back, and I did. And I knew that yoga would be a part of my life, not just something I do. It would be something I live.
At the end, when I had the after effects, I felt like my spine had grown about 6 inches. I felt really tall and really strong, and it was challenging, but the benefits of how I felt at the end of class outweighed any apprehension I had about going to the class. I love the fact that I could modify everything. I mean, even though I was still getting low back cramps with certain exercises, I was still able to modify it to my fitness level. So.
My advice for yogis with bigger bodies would be to just show up. I think it's really important that, especially when you're having a bad day and you don't want to show up, that's when you need to make it to your mat the most. I feel like the yoga studio, you'll find, is a very safe place of like-minded people. And sometimes we just show up to sit there. We show up to sit in child's pose or to lay back. Maybe we have to cry, maybe we have to release. It is a safe place to do that. Also, It is a message. There's a message in yoga that is uplifting, that is positive, that allows you to tune everything out, cut off all the senses and tune into the self and start connecting to yourself. I think it's really important that we get curious about our body. I think we need to start looking at how does yoga feel in our body rather than let's make my body conform to the way this shape is. I think it's important that we close our eyes and we tune everything into the self and we just breathe and see what moves in our body when we breathe.
It's just one class. Just keep coming back. Maybe arrive a little early so that you can figure out where you physically and mentally are going to be most comfortable in the class. Surround yourself with props. It doesn't matter if nobody else is doing that. More fool them. Props are not a sign of weakness. They're there to help you get the most from your practice. And nobody is watching you. Like, I can guarantee you they are so focused on their own performance and body and that no one is watching you. And if they are looking at you, they're probably in awe.
I think it's really important that yogis try different studios and different teachers so you can discover that St. Louis has a ton of great yoga instructors, and there's all different types of yoga out there. And you may want to incorporate different types of yoga. You may need a little restorative. You may need a vinyasa flow. You may need a gentle practice. So take your time, be patient with yourself, and allow yourself the time to try different studios and different teachers so you can see who speaks to you and who best aligns with your beliefs and your ideas.
Yes. You don't have to feel pity for the people that are larger, because that just underpins the narrative that larger is other, is untouchable. Give them the opportunity to be included in demonstrations. I mean, I know that there's people who will not want to be included in demonstrations, but I don't know, my confidence has got to the point where I don't really mind anymore. So that's another thing. And also include modifications where you can see that it might be appropriate in your class. And sometimes those modifications aren't just for people with larger bodies. They're for people who have back injuries or tight hamstrings, or they're not just for people with large bodies.
My insight for yoga teachers who are teaching people in bigger bodies, well, I feel like a lot of yoga teachers nowadays are learning to teach poses in steps so that people can stop along their way. My mentor always says, find your intelligent edge today, which is a great way to learn where you should stop. And that's not just for bigger bodies. So some days you may show up and you know you need to take your time. You need to be slow and gentle with your body. You may have had injury or you're just tired. And I think when teachers teach from a way of building up to a pose, it allows people to feel like they can stop along the way and be a little bit less competitive.
You have a line here that says, "Don't be amazed that we are flexible or strong."
Oh, yes, I've forgotten about that one. Yes.
I like that line.
Yes, yeah, I can't tell you how many times somebody has said to me, "Wow, Alison, I didn't realize how flexible you were," or "Wow, you're so strong." And yes, it's all undercover, but it's there, right?
Last summer, I attempted to teach a yoga class for bigger bodies. And then I decided, we don't need a yoga class for larger humans. We need to teach people in bigger bodies how to feel confident about themselves, how to modify poses, how to feel into their bodies so that they can show up to any class, anywhere, anytime, and feel comfortable and confident about how to move without that intimidation factor. So that's the real goal. There's going to be a lot of important conversations to be had about the yoga community and how we feel.
Well, both myself and Bryna have bigger bodies, and we have both gone through the journey where we've started doing yoga to the point where we wanted to do our teacher training, and we want to encourage other people of like-minded, well, like-bodiedness to start that journey. It's intimidating, the yoga scene can be, and I don't think everyone always thinks that they're capable of yoga. Like, yoga will rise to meet you, no matter what your level of fitness is. You don't have to be flexible, which is a wildly misconstrued concept about yoga. You have to be able to put your feet behind your head, and that's not necessarily true. So we're hoping that our workshop will encourage larger people to be brave enough to face a yoga studio and practice yoga.